That's a...
Sure.
After what seems like an eternity, your rapid descent comes to...
Well, that went better than I expected.
That was bracing.
Eh?
Brave thou...
Hey there.
Useless!
I have them! Moe. Moe iksi ana.
Lava will be on seek! Show him how it's done!
Ha! Got him!
Yeah?
Eh?
Brave thou Pillars believe.
Ha! Got him!
I'll just have to try something else.
Moe iksi.
Useless!
Lavaru be.
Bullseye.
These ones are in for a walloping! That's it!
Brave.
That's not very helpful.
I'll teach you a lesson! I'll teach you a... Sure.
Sure.
Moe iksi. Ana. Lavaru beyond seek.
Lava will be on seek!
Of course.
Hey there.
Let's Go! Ha! Got him!
Let's go.
Aye?
Let's go. Following forward. Almost.
Ah!
Ha! Got him!
I shall.
No problem.
Brave thou Pillars.
That's not.
Useless!
Lava will be on seat.
Ha! Got him!
Love that.
And that's how it's done. Bullseye.
Sure. My eyes are peeled.
Hey there.
Sure.
Hello. You are so different now from who you were then. Yet much remains the same. Old troubles with a new face. So the universe will. I can only guess your presence here has something to do with. After all this time, he would still stand against the tide. I will tell you what I remember. I can see his influence, still hanging like a weight about your neck. So it was just after the trial. You were. That the gods aren't.
I'd dreaded the idea from the moment the Delimgons.
Perhaps not to her. Many are those whom the... There's a theory puts my boldest to shame.
What I taught was that the gods whose faith we had been spreading were not gods at all, but something else entirely. Something created. The Anguithan missionaries all knew it, but they never told the rest of us. They meant it to be a secret that died with them. And in the end, they allowed their... They were conceived by Engwith, a society of high minds and broad concerns. Generation after generation, they prodded and worked the stitching of the world and unlocked its... It shook them, this finding. If they could discover this on their own, how long until others would? How long before war and chaos reigned over a world without... I never thought of it as faith, but I think you are right to call it that. I became a missionary because the gods brought me hope that I wanted to bring to others. For a time, the truth sent me to a dark place. Then the day came when I realized nothing had changed, that I still had a purpose, and the You asked me this once before. Nothing I can say would be any proof. Everyone faces this truth at one time or another. Few. What if it were forbidden knowledge rather than fault that earned your doom? What if your gift...
Mogren set a path for me. She is fickle and cruel.
And what if the fires themselves were lies? Lies you told yourself to bridge the gap between what if you had always been alone, without...
Well, as poorly as I've chosen my guides, I suppose...
The freedom has always been. If all our common threads are spun from a lie...
All of us across Aora are trying to survive, to make sense of the world. We'll find our own truths. Make them if we must. We don't need an ancient lie to...
There is bliss to be found in the things we create, but sorrow as well. Every creation bears the imperfect. I ask these things not to trouble you, but to show why they must be confronted. No answer is simple, but somewhere between them all lies a truth so beautiful, not even a god could conceive it. Do we not owe our... If that is truly what you believe, then you are a far... I've been alone here with my thoughts for so long now. I've found peace with my failures, and with my punishment. I no longer curse fate for what might have been. But there is one thing that is clear. I need to know why you chose to remain with the Inquisition, even after you'd learned the truth. Do you remember? I never wanted that. I had hoped that what I taught would replace your beliefs with something that made you stronger. For many it did, but not all, it seems. You were more than a friend. You were the only person I trusted. I always believed in your judgment. You had heard both sides, seen everything. If not you, then who? I expected dissent, but I needed to know that true faith would prevail. Perhaps I've been wrong to place, even knowing what you've told me. Some part of me knows it doesn't truly answer what I wished to know. Nor will an eternity of silence. And what of your understanding of our past? Are you at ease with the choice you made? You have always had my forgiveness, no matter your reason. There are circumstances behind that reason we all... At first I thought this might be the source of your soul's anguish, but now I see I was mistaken. You are not divided on this matter. You have put it behind you. It is with Theos that your agony. Yet if there is anything I can tell you that would be of use, ask and you shall know. You will not find a more resolute being on all of Aora. There is no offer you could make, nor spell you could cast, nor pain you could inflict that would make him reveal what he hides. But I see you have become a watcher in this life. Perhaps in defeat, when he can no longer defend, he cares only for the secret he keeps locked away. He destroys. That's why he's always favored Woodica. It isn't in her love of promises or justice. It's her disregard for the rules. Her willingness to do what is necessary. To Theos, she's not a deity, but an ally with which to conspire. If Theos succeeds, there will be a shift in the balance of power among the gods. Woodica was vanquished once, when the other gods decided she had gone too far, and her power diminished. With this infusion, there is no telling what she will do. The only certainty is that there will be chaos. I could not say for sure. But you have been to Sun and Shadow before, and it came at a crossroads in your life, when much of what you knew had been upended. His words mattered to you when you knew him then. After you and I spoke, you went immediately to seek him out. Perhaps you simply sought confirmation from the man you trusted. If something from that time still troubles you, it may be something he told you then, in a matter of speaking. This is P.18, the court of the penitents. Souls are confined here until they repent. They must beg the forgiveness of a god, pledge their soul to them, and they will be lifted from this place to the world above. In truth, they receive leniency, but not true mercy. The spite of Whitaker is eternal. They linger. This prison was full once in the days of the Inquisition. But time weathers all things, even will. I'm the only tenant who remains. Yet, I feel their presence strongly now. As it was in the beginning, they aid you because they would bend you to their own purposes. Engwith built gods from ideals, and an ideal on its own is a grotesque and vicious thing. But these souls, these forgiven, the gods have bequeathed you like chattel. They were loyal followers in life. They will be with you to the very... Theos will not wait for you. If you do not catch up to him now, you may never find him again. If I repent, all I have done has meant nothing. It was good to see you again. If ever we should meet again...
Hey there.
So, it's true. The gods are a sham that people have followed for thousands of years.
Hello? Is everyone still there?
We've been lied to. Our whole lives, and many lives before that. I'm surprised to hear you say this. It seems that I've also been thinking. There won't be much left of Theos by the time you're done with him, if I know how you are. This is unexpected coming from you. Then let's face Theos. When this is all over, I'll remember what we've been through. I'll...
Sure.
Full of surprises, aren't you?
Look at that. A city to put all others to shame. And long lost.
I'll teach you a lesson!
Let's go!
I shall deal with this one.
Yeah!
That's it!
Brave out the Moe. Ana.
Not exactly what I was going for. Ah!
Useless.
Show him how it.
拿这个龙。
Ah!
No good.
That's not very helpful.
No good.
Useless.
飞走啊！
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Brave thou Thilot, believe.
That's not very helpful.
Moe ixi ana.
Aztec worth and rough. Lava will be on.
Useless.
That's not very helpful.
Sure.
Are you ready to take the oath? To spread the word of the gods to the lost and heathen? I am trusting you to remain loyal to the gods in this. You are ready to give a confession?
I am ready to hear one from you.
You are far. We are in a... That woman sought only to... It has many uses. They are monuments. What is a god? We are in a sacred place within earshot of the gods themselves. You will return home and you will rest. There are many who continue to spread the lie. How did you find it? Another in a string of acts of petty defiance. For all her knowledge, she always preferred spite over reason. Then she should have obeyed. I ask one thing of all my followers. She was incapable. What of your cohort? You have devoted your...
I thought your people had much to teach us.
And did you ever... You are living in the time of my people. Greater civilization. You built a...
I served my goddess.
Yet the other builders were slaves.
There was a message.
Or was it merely that your goddess wanted you...
A whore's beguiling charms, nothing more.
You were able to state your name and...
My name belongs to the...
You serve none but yourself. Without...
No. I've risen
a leader without insight. You are here because... I gather you have had your soul awakened. Why else would you shadow my footsteps like some stray moth? I answered your questions once. That your soul is not fit to accept the answers is of little concern to me. I lied to no one. Not to. The heart of this country has skipped a beat. When plague arrived at the great city of Arborensis, I saw to it that the cure did not. They piled their dead outside the city, and that's where... There was a time, back when your soul was still a shapeless mist, when the world believed, but all that changed when they learned of the true gods. Our gods. Oh, there is no... Have you imagined this existence? The one the apostate would have created. We are not. But more than that, it would be for all my years, all I have seen, the millennia of it. You have not thought this through with your soul, and hear me, Woodica. Roak 10! Lava rule.
Ha! Got him.
I shall.
Attack!
Lavaru.
Lavaru beyond seek. Good.
Lavaru beyond. See.
Fire!
Aye. La.
Brave.
Lavaru beyond seek.
Moeth Ix. Moweth.
Eh?
Almost.
Following your...
Ah, got it.
Now, try some. Something else. I won't go down so easily. Show them how it's done!
Following your lead.
And that's how it's done.
useless.
That looks like it hurt.
That's it! P.18. See, Anna. Don't even. Pulling it down. Low.
I'll just have to try something.
There one.
Moeth X. See Anna. Are that worth and raw?
All those lifetimes spent to preserve a single.
All those lives.
Was there nothing there worth seeing?
Sure.
Ah, the end of the road greets us at last. But with that trial's end.
Astounding. I always knew the leaden key stood. This is beyond either of us. The certainty of the gods is a mercy. Power like this is a... It's your decision, of course.
We've come to the end of it, my friend. Do you think a single man might change the course of destiny?
You know something of quiet servitude, Watcher. Groveling and simpering before the gods whose aid you need. You have labored at the pleasure of others. That shriveled hag in Hadra's house. Those preening soldiers with more taste for silk than steel. The wretched and now the gods give you orders and commands. The exiled queen is not an ungrateful patron. Finish the work Theos began. Strengthen Woodica with these souls and allow her to become the most powerful of all the gods, with you as her favored. And one you will have many lifetimes to relish.
At your command. the ancient device became your instrument, spinning to life with deafening resonance and gathering up the swirling essence like thread on a great spindle. There, in the pale, pulsing glow of the machine that set you on this path long ago, you summoned all your strength, focusing on your objective and blocking out all else. With a single concussive blast that rocked the chamber and sent you tumbling to the ground, you freed the souls from their stasis. Exhausted, your consciousness slipping away, your last sight was of the machine, dark and dormant. Then your eyes closed, and sleep welcomed you at long last. After coming to and searching for some time, you discovered the route Theos used to enter Sun and Shadow, and embarked on a long and arduous ascent back to the surface. You emerged in Ter Evron after days of tunneling through the rubble Theos had left behind, and when you stepped into the daylight, you were faced with a different Deerwood than the one you had left. At your direction, the souls diverted by Theos were guided back to the vessels originally meant for them. For the first time, parents of hollow-born children woke to the cries of their infants, and looked into their eyes to see them staring back. People fell to their knees where they stood, thanking Helia or Mogren, or even Aethys for their forgiveness of whatever guilt they felt they bore. But for all the relief that had come to some parents, others only found new grief. For many thousands of Hollowborn had died during Wideone's legacy, many by their parents' own hands. For those children, there would be no homecoming. Yet the last Hollow birth was in the past now, and those parents willing to risk trying for a new child were frequently rewarded, often with twins. Many felt they saw Helia's hand in it, and the year would be remembered as the year of Helia's splendor. The loss of the souls you had promised to Entropy would be no setback to Remergant, nor to Andra, for the Beast of Winter trudges ever forward, and the will of the Lady of Lament is as unstoppable as the tide. In Deerwood, the weather quickly chilled. Unseasonable frosts destroyed the year's harvests before giving way to the coldest winter in memory. Many who survived the famine would soon freeze to death in their own homes. The oceans proved no safer. A barrage of squalls pounded the harbors along the Deerwooden coast for months, sending many ships to be forever lost in the depths of Andra's domain, either mourned or forgotten, both to the lady's liking. It is said that Galawain is the enforcer of the guards, and is known to hunt down those who wrong them. To wrong Galawain, then, is truly to wake the beast, and the father of monsters took great umbrage at your broken promise to him. Along with Mogren and Abidan, Galawain embarked upon a more direct approach to claiming his quarry. In the months that followed, the frontier settlements of Deerwood were inexplicably attacked by packs of beasts and monsters, suddenly organized and unafraid to approach Kith on their own land. Many such villages were all but destroyed by the time troops could be dispatched from local garrisons. Those that weren't destroyed by the beasts of Galawain often found themselves at the mercy of the fires of Mogren. A dry spell throughout Deerwood led to a rash of forest fires on a scale not seen since the War of Black Trees, and many settlements paid the price for their proximity to the wilderness. In the cities, meanwhile, dabblers in animancy who had placed souls into golems and other moving vessels soon found that their creations had risen up against them. Such constructs terrorized their surroundings, killing indiscriminately and often in great numbers before being subdued. Followers of Bereth have a saying that life is a debt all must pay in death, and their god is known to always collect what is owed. In breaking your word to Bereth, a debt was created. Souls were owed to the cycle, and the agents of the god of inevitability would not be refused. An epidemic of unexplained deaths struck Deerwood in the days that followed the legacy. Most often, the dead would be travelers on the road, known to be a favorite target of Bereth's Pallid Knight, who exacts impossible tolls from those who have journeyed for too long. The elderly, too, seemed to pass on in alarming numbers. But just as often, the deaths appeared to strike randomly, and for no reason at all. Those who sensed the involvement of the twinned god dubbed the calamity Bareth's Price, supposing it a payment for the end of Widewind's legacy. Lord Radric's zeal had brought him back to life once, but it would not do so again. Radric's destruction at your hands spelled the end of his suffocating rule over Gilded Vale and the surrounding area. In his absence, the village prospered, becoming a popular destination for new settlers anxious to leave Defiance Bay after the riots. Without a nearby ruler, it also grew more wild, with many settlers moving on as soon as they'd arrived, turned off by lawlessness that was excessive even by Deerwooden standards. Nevertheless, despite the challenges of living there, Gilded Vale had survived, and would continue to survive for the foreseeable future. Following the assassinations of Duke Avar Wolfgren and Lady Webb, Defiance Bay was thrown into political upheaval. In the ensuing weeks, the streets had become the domain of looters and blackguards. Few dared to step outside their own doors alone or unarmed. But order was soon re-established by the Knights of the Crucible, who, despite their depleted numbers, had gained favor in the public eye for their role in the unraveling of the conspiracy surrounding Widewind's legacy, and were quickly reinforced by returning forces from Fleetbreaker Castle. For the Knights, their resurgence marked a return to the tradition as well. Having seen firsthand the dangers presented by dabblers in animancy, the Order quickly abolished the practice internally, preferring the familiarity of their hammers and forges to the uncertainties of Essence and Adra. Their identity rediscovered, the Knights suppressed their political aspirations and began once again to train their recruits in the art of blacksmithing, recapturing the post-revolutionary ideals of Deerwood and regaining the respect of its citizens as a result. The destruction of the machine atop Ter Noaneth spelled the end of the reanimated corpses in Heritage Hill. Though at first few were willing to venture into the abandoned district, it was soon cleaned out and rebuilt. The district's horrors still fresh in people's minds, it would be some time before it was fully repopulated. But eventually the lure of cheap prime land would all but erase the memory. The Duke's assassination at the apparent hands of an animancer had caused catastrophic rioting in the streets of Defiance Bay, and few animancers survived the first day. Many Deerwoodens took the end of Widewind's legacy as a sign, both that the gods did not approve of animancy, and that the purging of animancers in Defiance Bay had been enough to satisfy them. In time, their rage would subside, and a number of surviving animancers remained in and around Defiance Bay, often taking to the wilds to practice their science without repercussions. The town of Deerford had seen the last of the cult of Scan. Dark rumors about the town's many curses quickly faded, and travelers soon returned. The rejuvenation of Cadnua was a short-lived endeavor. While the rise of a new master had presented new hopes of the keep being restored to its former glory, time proved otherwise. Plans for maintenance of the structure were postponed time and time again, until ultimately they were scrapped altogether, their master's priorities lying elsewhere. When the dust settled in sun and shadow, Aloth looked upon the remains of Theos Ix Arcanon, his former master. He saw where the Grandmaster had gone wrong, and he knew what he would do better. The secret of the gods would be preserved, and with it, the sanity and well-being of all Kith. He donned the remains of Theos's ceremonial garb, and prepared himself for the long and lonely task ahead. With the Watcher's goals accomplished, and his own vows fulfilled, Kanarua sailed back to Tekoa. His friends and family found him much changed, for a pall had fallen upon the man, smothering his former enthusiasm. Called before the Lore College, Kana told them of the pain the Engwithan legacy brought to the lands abroad. He insisted that a search for answers abroad could only fragment the Rawatai people, as it had done to the Deerwood. His findings were met with much respect, and Kanarua's voice came to be considered an influential one in the growing move towards Rawatai's isolation. With Theos defeated and the souls released from sun and shadow, healthy children were born once again in the Deerwood. The grieving mother sought a place where she might do penance for the birthing bell. She returned to Deerford, where, to the astonishment of the villagers, she delivered the first healthy child in over a decade. She remained there, and with each new birth, she saw a measure of hope restored to the Deerwood, and a measure of grace for her own troubled past. Durrance continued to blame Woodica for the atrocities of the Saints' War. Believing Magrin to have been a pawn in the machinations of the Queen that was, and feeling that Theos's expulsion had been a step towards reconciliation with his goddess, Durrance tried for a time to reopen communication with her. When only silence came, he took it as a condemnation of his continued existence. Ultimately, he built a pyre and threw himself upon it, using his own shattered staff as kindling. For you, the death of Theos brought an end to your waking visions, and a silence to the whispers of the past. In their absence, you were able to sleep. The questions of a distant lifetime ceased to trouble your soul. All that remained was what to make of the answer. But at the moment, there was little to be done, and the matter would have to wait. A long journey loomed ahead.